Are ghosts real? That's a question so many people have. Some are believers, and others are skeptical. Let me tell you a story about why I'm a believer. I've always been able to see ghosts, even when I was a very young child. Back in 2009, I was 14 years old and growing up in Little Havana. My mother was a constant churchgoer, but I hadn't stepped foot in a church in over 5 years. One Sunday night, my mother invited me to go to church with her. 6 p.m. comes along, and we are all dressed and ready to go. When we arrive, it felt as if all the negative energy stayed at the door. Things were going great, and it was getting towards the end of the evening. We all got down on our knees and prayed. I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, it's as if I have left my body and started floating above everyone, including myself. I'm at a loss for words. I see someone else floating, but this person had wings and a beautiful glow around them, as if I was seeing my guardian angel. At that moment, though I was lost in thought, I felt at ease. I saw the angel start to move over to where I was kneeling. It hovered down toward my body and then moved into it, assuming the same kneeling position that my body was still in as I hung above. When his form was wholly merged into mine, all I could see were his wings protruding from my back. They now seemed like they were attached to me. After that, I snapped back and my prayer was over. I got up and felt so great and peaceful. I've never felt better in my entire life. We arrived home, and I went to my room to watch some TV. My room was very spacious. I laid down on my futon. It was in front of my bed, with a blanket laid across it. I turned the lights off and started watching George Lopez. Midnight comes along, and I was very relaxed and enjoying watching my show. A couple minutes after midnight, I started having trouble breathing. The air felt thick, and it was hard for me to take a breath. I heard a thump on my bedroom door. I looked over, but nothing was there. I turned back to the corner where my TV was, hoping that this was all just my mind playing tricks on me. Instead of confirming my suspicion, 8 dark shadows were walking around my room, inching closer and closer to me. As they walked, the heads followed me, ever watching. I was stuck in place. I wanted to move, but my mind couldn't comprehend what was happening. I pried my eyes away from the shadows, closing them, looking down, hoping I'd fallen asleep, hoping this to be a dream. My blanket started to move on its own. I opened my eyes to see that my blanket was covered entirely with roaches. They crawled all over my skin and clothes. I swept my arms over my body, trying to knock them off me and onto the floor. As I worked to get them off me, my eyes began to well with tears of frustration at the whole situation. I didn't know what to do. I yelled, "Get off me!" But the roaches seemed to be endless. I threw the blanket off me and got up. Then, the stench hit me. I couldn't pinpoint the smell perfectly, but the closest thing I can think of is the smell of burnt hair and rotten meat. As soon as the horrible smell hit me, a knot formed in my stomach, and the hairs on the back of my neck started to stand on end. I could feel something licking at me from behind, a prickling on the back of my neck as I stood there, nearly petrified. After several seconds, I gathered my courage and slowly turned to face whatever was watching me. To this day, I can't get the image of what I saw next out of my head. It was large, nearly 7 foot tall, and its human-like figure sat atop its goat legs and hoof feet. It was almost black in the dark, only illuminated by the television screen across the room, which highlighted its features. The fingers on its hands were tipped with black, bear-like claws. Its eyes were dark wells of emptiness, the darkest black I had ever seen in my life. As it smiled in the low light, its sharp teeth shone, a stark contrast to the black horns that protruded from the top of its head. Never seeing anything like this before, I was paralyzed with fear. The figure made such a horrible growl, releasing a cloud of noxious fumes. Its claws closed in toward me. I thought it would be the end. I willed my body to move, pressing outward, back, through myself, urging my body to break its paralysis. Just before its hand could reach me, I fell back away from it. I scrambled up and ran to my door and switched on the lights. I turned back toward my room, and they were gone. The shadowy figures and the one that tried to take me. I went to my mom in tears, explaining what I had just seen. She thought it was just my imagination, my mind playing tricks on me. I told her I screamed when the roaches were crawling all over me, but she said she heard no sounds come from my room. When the next day came along, I tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination getting the better of me. When night came, I decided to go to sleep early because I had been up most of the previous night. I slept with my face to the wall. Around 10:30 p.m., I started to hear something from my door. It was squeaking, and then a click. It sounded like my door had just closed. The weird part is, after the previous night's experience, I had locked my door when I went to bed. I was still facing my wall, but the latch sounded with a clack. Then, the door creaking again, as if it had slowly swung open. Footsteps sounded from the doorway, getting closer to me until I could feel someone looking over me. I felt breath on the nape of my neck, and I felt something cinch around my throat as if someone was choking me. I closed my eyes, praying for all this to be a dream. However, when I shut my eyes, I got what I can only describe as a vision. It was a dark image of a creepy, tan-colored, hunched figure sitting atop of me with a sinister smile on its face. He had small wings, and his canine teeth were long and protruded from his mouth. I was freaking out, so scared of what was going on. I couldn't believe this was happening. I tried to pinch myself, wake myself up from what I hoped was a terrible dream, but instead, I found that I was paralyzed from head to toe, literally. I don't know how long this lasted, but in my vulnerable state, it felt like forever. Eventually, I felt weight moving off of me, and then the grip on my throat loosened. Soft footsteps sounded to the door. Then I heard the door close. Once the door closed, I felt like I could breathe again, and I was able to move. My heart was racing, and I was sweating profusely. I stood and ran to the light switch again, turning it on and laying in bed in terror for the rest of the night, unable to sleep at all. The next morning, I asked my mother if she happened to walk into my room or hear anything last night. She replied with a concerned, "No." I told her what happened. The same day, we decided to go back to the church to talk to the priest and tell him what I have seen and gone through the last few days. He decided to pray for me. I still felt on edge about everything, but hoped that prayer would help. When nighttime came, I stayed awake, watching TV in the dark. I heard a noise behind me, and when I looked over, the demonic half-goat, bear-clawed, huge monstrosity was right behind me, a lot closer than before. It looked a lot angrier now and ready to strike. It lunged for me. I barely got away, rolling off of the futon. When I hit the ground, I immediately sprung up and sprinted toward the door. I opened my bedroom door and ran to my mom's room in terror. She turned on her light and tried to calm me down, but nothing was working. That thing was out to kill me. We decided to go to church again and tell the priest that it was still all happening. The church became more concerned, and they decided to do some kind of ritual. Not exactly an exorcism, but something to try and get rid of the demonic spirit that kept terrorizing me. They sat me down in a chair and poured holy water on my hands, asking me to hold on to some strange bamboo stick. Everyone from the church gathered around me in a circle. They also placed candles around my chair and began walking around me as the priest started his prayers. I could feel anger start to build inside me to the point where I wanted to yell at everyone. I desired to stand up and beat all of them with the same stupid red chair I was sitting in. An excruciating pain shot through me in a piercing strike. It originated in my feet and ran through my body several times over, pushing my understanding of suffering to new limits. The torture I was experiencing started to feel like hell inside of me, a hell that was pounding at the inside of me, eager to escape. Images shot through my mind, visions of everyone there, laying on the ground in pieces, bloodied and ruined, and of my face, smiling and bloodstained, grinning over their demise. I felt total evil run through my veins. It started to feel like I wasn't in control of myself anymore. I felt my head spinning, and my body felt lighter with every passing second. I felt like I was going to explode. Once it was over, I snapped back into reality. Everyone looked at me and started asking how I was feeling. All I said was, I was exhausted and drained. Here in Florida, it's very humid. My body felt warm, but the people who shook my hand told me my hand felt cold. Once I got home, I took my temperature and then took the temperature of my hands. To my surprise, they were at 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I told my mom that I was tired and that I was going to bed. She said, "Okay, good night. I love you." I headed back to my room and had the TV on for some light. About 15 minutes later, I hear a growl. I looked up and saw the demonic creature again. At this point, I had enough. I decided to stand up and turn off the TV. The room was pitch black. I could feel this creature. Still, he was right in front of me. I grabbed my Bible and started yelling at it, saying, "I'm not afraid of you. You are nothing without my fear. I have God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit with me, and my guardian angel has been protecting me from the start, and now I'm ready to stand up. Go away. You don't belong here," I yelled. I finished by saying, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I banish you." I heard one last powerful growl, and then my room felt normal again. I felt at peace. I stayed up all night thinking about what happened. Come morning, I went to the kitchen to where my mom was cooking breakfast. I asked her if she heard any commotion from my room or me yelling, and she said she didn't hear a peep. It was totally silent. I told her how I yelled a prayer at this demonic creature, which to this day, I still believe I faced down the devil and made him leave. I continue to have paranormal experiences from time to time, but I haven't seen this level of demonic activity since. I decided to move across country to Arizona for a fresh start, leaving all this paranormal stuff behind me. Unfortunately, it seems they aren't finished with me yet, which is why I'm sharing this with the world. They're back again, and I'm not sure I can get rid of them this time. At least this way, if you don't hear back from me, you know what happened. Thanks for joining us around the campfire. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe below. Also, hit that notification bell to be notified of our new stories as they are posted. If you have a story you'd like to share for narration, submit it via email, and you may be hearing your story next. Our email address is in the description box below. Thank you, and good night.